Thursday in February when we had a snow day there was a travel advisory to stay off the roads. So after having corresponded by email, talking on the phone, back and forth for over a year, Caregiver Companion gave a very compelling grant application to the foundation and was awarded some funds, and then we asked them to speak. So when she finally arrived here today, 30 seconds later, we all got up and left. And I explained to her that that's just an element of Kiwanis hospitality. But she's all set up. Caregiver Companion is an interfaith network of support for people in their homes. So it helps people in our community that have life challenges not have to move out of their homes. Without any other explanation, Diana can handle this. I'd ask you to welcome Diana Salazar of Caregiver Companion.
Good afternoon. It is a true pleasure to be here, so thank you. And thank you for what you do. You love well, and that's what the community needs, so God bless you. Wanted to share with many of you more about Caregiver Companion. We're kind of one of those hidden gems, and no nonprofit wants to say that, but that's the reality of some nonprofits that don't have national names. Caregiver Companion is a network of people who have a heart to serve the near neighbor. How can I make a difference in my community? How can I give back? How can I honor God? That's really the heart of our mission. So the focus is on the caregiver who is growing in number at levels that I think all of us would be shocked. The stats currently say that over 1/3 of our nation are in-home caregivers to someone they either know or that they have as a family member. So that's pretty daunting. And the numbers are growing, which is a huge concern, and you've seen Joyful Journey open because there's a need. The good news is they don't have to do it alone. Folks aren't meant to do it alone. We're meant to work as a community, and places like ours say, how can we do this together? And then there's another number of people who are living alone independently and just need a little help, practical help from volunteers. What's really special about our agency is we started 21 years ago and have never charged a penny. This has been prayerfully done for 21 years, where we are about 25 to 30 of our donations come from the Congregation of St. Joseph, who originally started us. But their heart is really saying, how can we do it as a community? How can we love well? So they have 25 nonprofits within the country that they've said, what is on your heart to go help people and go make a difference? And Sister Veronica, 21 years ago, was a caregiver for her family. And she said there is such a need for people to come along side people who need just a little practical help and run to the bank with them because they can't drive. Or to be able to tell a caregiver to go take a breath, go get your hair cut done, go finally get your own doctor's appointment in. Because caregivers, honestly, the stats, again, are they die earlier than the person they care for. Because the care and the love, the labor of love is so intense in a beautiful way, but a difficult way, that they often can be put in the hospital before the loved one with the diagnosis or the illness. And that's a concern. The good news is it doesn't have to be that way. That's my motto. It doesn't have to be that way. But it's been just neat to be able to follow this legacy of compassion, kindness, walking out what we're called to do as people who profess that we want to live in a community that's caring and loving. And in today's culture, we all know that that isn't an option. We've got to walk it, and we've got to love well. So I just want to tell you a little bit about who we are, how people come on our services, how volunteers, with whoever they are in the way of their skill, their passion, their ability, come and say, how can I help? So just a big picture, we're located at St. Anne's. We have an office space that they very kindly, over 21 years, have donated to us so that this could be a ministry here in our community. We do get calls from all over the nation saying, is there a caregiver companion where my mom is? Because the need is great. So it's sad to say there isn't. We'd love to write the manual. So if there is ever an extra staff member to write that manual, we would be grateful for that. There are 2 full-time staff members, and we are looking right now for the associate director. We had an incredible gal who took us to the 21st century, a young lady who's gone back to Purdue. They knew she was good, and they lost someone who's very special, so they recruited her back. sad on our part, but we're now looking for that person who can fill her chair. You know, she brought us up to higher ability on Facebook and website and such, and we just are grateful for that. And she really engaged Purdue students at a level that was never before, but we've always worked well with Circle K and many of the organizations on Purdue. We are on Purdue campus almost as much as we are in our office in the beginning of fall, because it's so important to have these students come alongside these folks who are homebound. What we've seen when students come into a home and they willingly go in there and they do it with just a desire to get to know someone and be meaningful to them, there is new life that comes into that home. There is new hope for the future. These folks who are weary, discouraged, feeling very vulnerable, now see a student who is compassionate. They see a student who willingly comes without any reason, but to just get to know them and be there for them. There's a whole new hope, and I can tell you there's a lot longer life that comes after that. Because when you go, what I found, I worked for hospice for almost 9 years at St. Elizabeth. And what I found is when you bring life into a home of someone who's weary, worn, or discouraged, you bring new life. You bring new breath. It doesn't mean necessarily that it cures. But I can tell you today, we received a call from a woman I've been there for 2.5, going on 3 years as the director. And I've been concerned about her because when she calls, she's so down. So we put volunteers in there, and there was a reason for her. She said, no, I think she was just not feeling strength to receive a volunteer. So we sent a volunteer who's very seasoned her way the last few weeks. And now when she calls, there's a light in her voice. There is joy. There's all that can come when someone is visited who's feeling that there is no more life. So the neat thing is to see people go and volunteer and say, here I am, what do you need for a couple of hours? Oh, I can run the vacuum. Oh, I can have a cup of coffee. I can bring you a muffin. But it's as simple as showing up and bringing your presence there that brings new life. And that's what's beautiful. We get to hear and live and be blessed by those stories every day. What a meaningful place to be. So the neat thing, too, is we find that our volunteers come and they stay for years. Our job as a service that matches volunteers with families is to match well. So our job is to say, who are you? We get to know you through an interview. We do a background check, reference checks, a 2-hour training session on once a month on Saturdays, and we get to know you and you get to know us, so that we're really working together to say, how can we go make a difference? And it's been really neat to be able to do it as a team, to go and be meaningful out there. What we found too is that our transportation request is becoming our #1 need here in the community. There is not a transportation service that's affordable other than Access Bus. But I would not put my mom, who could trip on the curb, for her anyway, I would want someone to take her. So that's meaningful that we're here and we're able to do that for a lot of folks who we would just be thinking they might be vulnerable on their own. They might need an arm. They might need an extra pair of eyes to get from the house inside the doctor's office. That's what we do. And so we've done that for 21 years. It is becoming our #1 request. So our volunteers will drive our neighbors to doctor's appointments, therapy appointments, dialysis, trying to think of all the grocery stores, errands. It's just a beautiful way to give a couple of hours. And we do have volunteers here today, and we've had several volunteers over the years who are Kiwanis, and we are so pleased by that they already have that heart for service. So it's been neat. So we just are really finding that we fill the gap. We're an agency that doesn't charge, but we bring compassionate, trustworthy volunteers to go make a difference for those that are feeling vulnerable, for those who are isolated, for those who might be discouraged, or just need someone to come alongside them for safety. It's been a very special way to make a difference. Our third way that we help after transportation and then respite support for caregivers would be companionship, being able to run errands, being able to just stop by and visit someone. It brings, as I said, new life to that person. And so we have touched well over 2,000 lives in the years that we've been here. And it's lives upon lives, because it's not just the volunteers' life that it touches and the neighbors, but the families of the neighbors, the family of the volunteers. We do also have families that come on and help serve as a family. You know, they might do come and drinks break like Thanksgiving or Christmas, deliver cookies, sing a couple of carols. We have a couple of classrooms scheduled in the fall to write pen pal letters to our neighbors. That has been amazing to watch students. We started a church here locally and had a Sunday school of 5th and 6th graders write little pen pal cards to the neighbors. And we just give the first name because we do respect privacy. So we gave the first names, but they're writing about their pets, they're writing about the dog, they're writing about their uncles, their aunts, their grandfathers, and they're connecting. And the neighbors then are writing back and said, many of them, I've never had a pen pal. This is so neat. So it's just been bringing new life into our community. We've been one of those quiet forces out there that a lot of folks don't know. How people qualify for a service. Right now, it's anyone who is unable to drive. Not that they don't have a car. They have to be very appropriate for volunteers. So we do go out and we assess on Wednesday. So if you don't reach us at the office on Wednesday from 8 to 4, what you'll do is please leave a message and we'll call you back. But we go out and we meet the family so that we are able to match well, make sure it's appropriate environment for volunteers, make sure they're appropriate, because we don't want anyone to be past a skill level that they're comfortable with. I'm non-medical, our work and our support is practical, non-medical in-home support. So just to let you know, we try to make it where it's very doable for anyone who walks in that door and says, I'd like to help. So we also mow lawns, we help with in-home tasks, organizing, some light housekeeping, but we don't offer that as a service because we found that it's hard to get volunteers for that unless they're students. Currently, we have nearly 150 neighbors that we're helping throughout the year, that or more. We are growing, so we are surprised as we continue to look at the numbers that we see that to be more certainly in the next year. For volunteers, we currently have 77 volunteers who are non-students, and then for students, we generally have 25 to 40. And we also work with a couple of sororities on campus that offer a Love Your Community Day to us. So we bring our neighbors in for a community day on Valentine's Day, and a sorority will host the event. And we're able to bring volunteer community and our team together with our neighbors to love on them all day. And so that's been a really neat way to continue to build that momentum. For us, it's really about bringing compassion to those in need, and this is a way that we can do it through this special mission that we offer here in Tippecanoe County. Let's see. We do encourage you to like us on Facebook. If any of you are Facebook users, that way you can get our updates and kind of see what we're doing and look at our video. We do have a video that we'd like you to take a look at. It gives you a big picture of who we are. And I did bring material that gives our website, our email, our phone number, our hours, so that you can have all that at your disposal up here, or I can put it back there if it's more convenient. But would just kind of explain that we're continuing to be here because some people do give back, either time, talent, or treasure. It's been a way to just bring the community together and say we're doing this in a way that is truly ministering to those who got us through, excuse me, the last many years of their life. We're able now to give back, and then we learn from them. They become our teachers so that we and the next generation love well. And it's just a beautiful way to say, let's do this together and honor God. So thank you. Any questions today? Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
Do you do a background check on the volunteers?
We do a background check on the volunteers. And sometimes the neighbors, I'll be honest with you, because there are some homes that before we go, there's just a check thinking we probably need to check. So we want everyone to enjoy this experience. So we do background check. Yes. For our funding has primarily come through maybe a quarter to a third through the Congregation of St. Joseph CSJ Ministries, but the rest of it is community. They're saying if your community supports you, then we know that we're doing the right thing and we're doing it well. So over the years, we've had people remember us at the time of passing, so they'll name us, and that's meaningful because then other people know about us because we don't have an advertising budget. The other way is some of the neighbors give back if they can. Many of our neighbors are the folks who don't receive other services, so that's why we're so meaningful to them, truly, because they're not on Medicaid most of the time. Medicare might is medical, but it doesn't help with the other finances. So it's often the widow or the widower that wouldn't have the pension. So they're living kind of paycheck to paycheck. But some folks remember us at time of passing, and then a couple of families have named us, and that's kept us here. So it's been just prayerfully done. But then we have donors, people who know of our service or we've helped in the past. Their families will donate annually, and that makes a big difference to keep us here. So thanks for asking. Yes.
After the family has been approved, is there quite a waiting list to get a volunteer to come in the house to help?
There was a question about what the waiting list would look like. And during the school year, the waiting list is very low. It might be 1 or 2 people. The summers are harder because we've just lost 25 to 40 volunteers, so that's a little tighter. So right now we have a waiting list of maybe 15. But that's our normal would be closer to probably 2 or 3. Because we work hard to not have a waiting list, but it does happen. But when there is a waiting list, what we'll do is we are a referral service. So we refer, meaning that's part of what we do is refer. But we'll refer to other agencies, give them information so they're not left alone. The other thing that we offer, and I often forget to say this, but we have once a month a caregiver support group that meets. And this is meaningful, this is rich. Caregivers need to know they're not alone. Their feelings, their emotion, their frustration, they need ideas, they need encouragement. So we have a caregiver support group that first Tuesday of the month, and I facilitate that, but it's been neat just to learn about what's new out there, some of the scams, some of the things to be aware of, sadly. But this is a great way for caregivers to connect. So we do give them a book when they come. We give them a bookmark to encourage them. It's 10 ways of caring for the caregiver, because caregivers, they're often the givers, so they forget to receive. So our job is to love them well. Thank you, everyone. God bless what you do.
Diana, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the group. Again, she has a business card or 2, and then some materials. So if there is someone in your life that would benefit from having a neighbor, a loving, helping neighbor, so that they don't have to move out of their residence, let her know. And if you're interested in volunteering, no matter what your skill level or your ability to participate, also let her know. On behalf of the Lafayette Kiwanis Club, celebrating 100 years, you appear very organized, but this is an organizer with tabs to help you along your way. All the best.